Hello guys, welcome to another episode 5 of the Virtual PPL series. Today we're going to take a look at aircraft turns. So, a little bit of an introduction into aircraft turns, some information that's quite useful. So anytime that we use the ailerons to turn, bank the aircraft, adverse yaw is produced. We use the ailerons and a turn to change heading or direction. Pretty simple. The ailerons bank the wings, which determines the rate of the turn, and the elevator still controls the pitch, which is quite a fundamental part of the turn. The rudder does not turn the aircraft. All it does is counteract adverse yaw. There is 3 types of turns. There is a shallow turn, which is 20 degrees or less. There's a medium turn, which is 20 to 45 degrees, and that's your typical turn, which is usually about 30 degrees. And then there's a steep turn, which is 45 degrees or more. Later on through the series, we will look at steep turns as part of the syllabus, but at this stage, we won't be looking at those. So when we make our turns, it's really important that we do it in a coordinated fashion. So that means banking into the turn using the ailerons and using the rudder to counteract any adverse yaw. Additionally, it might be required, usually is, that you need to apply some back pressure on the yoke, and that will maintain your altitude. It's really important to remember the turn coordinator, although we do use it in turns, specifically timed turns for instrument flying. Again, something we'll look at later on. It is susceptible to lag, so it can't be used as a fundamental, direct instrument in terms of your turns. There is lag with the ball on the turn the slip indicator, and then there's lag with the actual wings, basically indicator bit. So any imperfections when you roll into the turn and out of the turn will amplify that lag also. So today we're not going to look at standard rate turns, they're more used for instrument flying. However, we will look at 30-degree bank turns, just your everyday typical turn that you would use in VFR flight. Additionally, we will look at magnetic compass turns, and that is in case your DI, your heading indicator, is malfunctioning or in op. Later on in the episode, we will be looking at climbing and descending turns also. It's basically a combination of the 2 techniques, so from the last episode with climbing and descending, and this episode with the turns. So to start our turn, we're going to pick a heading that we want to be on. So in this case, we're going to pick 180-degree reciprocal, which is west. We're going to do a left turn, and in terms of rollout, you roll out half of your bank angle. So in this case, we're going to do a 30-degree turn, and we're going to roll out 15 degrees before our desired heading. It's really important that we maintain back pressure on the yoke throughout the turn, and this will stop any altitude loss. But it's really important we don't overcompensate also, because you can then start to climb. It's critical that we don't overbank. We must stay on 30 degrees as we need to be smooth as we enter. We get to 30 degrees, maintain it, and then we need to be smooth on the way back out too. Additionally, we need to use the rudder in a coordinated fashion with it. This is something you can generally feel in real life in the aircraft, but in this situation, we would need to use our slip indicator. But generally, you just give it a little bit of left rudder for a left turn. So let's get back onto our easterly heading, and then we will roll into the turn, 30 degrees. Keep that ball centered with a bit of left rudder. Maintain that 30 degrees. Watch we're not increasing in altitude. Ensuring that we're not decreasing in altitude. And then 15 degrees before, we'll roll out pretty much spot on west there, just a couple of degrees off, and we can just do a final tweak to bring that back. So when you're coming out the turn, you need to release the rudder as you release the bank basically on the yoke. Okay, so now we will do a turn to the right. Again, we'll do 180 degrees, so we'll just get back on west there. A little bit of deviation. And we'll roll in the turn. As we do, apply a little bit of right rudder. Keeps the aircraft level. Being careful not to overbank or use too much rudder. And a little bit of back pressure on the yoke. And then 15 degrees before, we'll roll out. And there we go, we're pretty much bang on again. And just a minor tweak to bring that back. Provided you're fully trimmed before in straight and level flight, once you exit your turn, the aircraft should still be trimmed. Okay, so we're going to do some magnetic compass turns now, and this will simulate a DI failure basically. So it is backwards, as you can see there. I'm getting back on east by turning left, very gently. It's a little bit difficult for me to show you. I've had to zoom right in, as the compass isn't particularly visible in the aircraft cockpit. So unfortunately, the compass is not the most reliable tool that we have for navigation. It is a fundamental backup, but it's not very good. And the reason why is there is many errors associated with it. So if you're on a northerly heading, if you turn east or west, the compass will indicate a lag, and it will show a turn in the opposite direction initially. If you're on a southerly heading, turning east or west, the compass precedes the turn. If you're on an east or west heading, the compass indicates correctly in a turn either direction. And if you're on a east or west heading again, an acceleration results in a brief north indication, and then for deceleration it will show a brief south indication. When you're on a northerly or southerly heading, no error results from diving or climbing or changing airspeed. So these are really important errors to remember when you are trying to navigate using your compass. There is a simple way to remember it, and there's two words, ANDs and UNOs. ANDs is Alpha November Delta Sierra, and that's accelerate north, decelerate south. And then UNOs, so Uniform November Oscar Sierra, that's undershoot north and overshoot south. Hopefully that makes some sense to you. It's really easy to remember that way. So I'll try and show you some of these errors on the compass. So currently we're indicating a northerly heading. So if we're correct, if we turn east or west, the compass will indicate a lag, and it'll show a turn in the opposite direction initially. So we'll just give it a quick turn to the left. And did you see? It went one way, and now it's going the right way. And as we roll out, it catches back up with itself. So now we're on a southerly heading, and I'll show you the error with the southerly heading. So if we turn east or west, the compass precedes the turn now. So if we just give it a turn to the right and level off, you can see it was ahead of itself, and it's had to come back to our correct heading. So when you're flying VFR, the best way to do a turn is visually looking out the cockpit. And if you watched the episode before with straight and level flight, episode 3 I believe, we talked about the finger method, how many fingers you can hold horizontally between your cowling or your glare shield and the horizon. It's really important that you keep your seating position exactly the same all the time, otherwise that'll change all the time. So you can use the same sort of method when you're turning as well. it's similar, it's not exactly the same, but for example, if I roll into a left 30-degree bank turn, once I'm there and I'm keeping it level, I can see where the horizon is passing. The horizon, is passing through the glare shield. So roughly, it's passing through where the blue marker is and the volume knob, just on the glare shield there. And if I maintain the horizon going through that section, we should stay level. And that's definitely the easiest way. Obviously, if you're not flying VFR, if you're flying IFR, completely different story. You might be in IMC, in which case you're on instruments alone, and you need to fully understand your instruments and learn how to read them and trust them. So now we'll talk about climbing turns and descending turns. We'll do a descending turn initially, and that's done at 30 degrees bank and a normal descent. So to begin our descending turn, initially we'll reduce the throttle, pull the carb heat, let the aircraft start to descend, watching that rate of descent, keep it managed with the throttle so it's not excessive, and then we'll start our 30-degree turn. Provided the aircraft was all trimmed out nicely, it will maintain a decent cruise speed in the descent. And there we have it, a 1,000 foot descent rate and a 30-degree turn. Slightly excessive on the descent rate, we can bring the throttle back a bit more just to slow it down a little bit. But that's essentially what we need to do. So for our climbing turn now, all we need to do is enter a climb as the previous episode, and then we'll start a right bank, but typically we do these at 15 degrees, so a bit less on the bank angle, so halfway between the two smaller indicators on the attitude indicator. So we'll go full throttle, let the aircraft pitch up, control it to maintain a comfortable vertical speed, and then we'll enter our 15-degree bank, and we'll just maintain a 15-degree bank, a little bit of back pressure to maintain the climb, and it should be nice and comfortable like so. If the climb is fairly long, you can retrim, obviously. And then you just level off as normal. So, level the wings, level off the aircraft so you're back in straight and level flight. Let the airspeed build, and then go back to cruise. I did forget to put the carb heat back. And you probably noticed there that there was a increase in performance, so having your carb heat on unnecessarily, as the previous episode states, will degrade your performance. And that's it for today's episode, guys. I hope you really enjoyed it. I hope it's been useful to you. If you did like it, please give it a like, and if you want to see more of the series, please hit subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you soon. I don't think that my head's on straight. Gotta flip it and grip it and go and get it next.